invited them to Camp David because he does not again appreciate and responsibility to be commander-in-chief with a level of respect. The point of how fallen
Harris, thank you. President Trump, your response to her saying that Harris, thank you. President Trump, your response to her saying that you began the negotiations with the Taliban.
If you take a look at that period of time, our soldiers, a lot of them, with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban, involved within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because within Afghanistan, they don't bother doing that because, you know, they deal with the wrong people. I got involved. I got in kill the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you have problems. A problem, Abdul, renegotiated by, it was, we were getting out, it was, wouldn't have left many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have left 85 finish. They blew finish. They blew this was terminated by us because they did was what they were supposed to do, and in my opinion, the most embarrassing moment in the history, and in my opinion, that's why Russia, and her boss are. In
this country. Mr. President, you recently said of likes in this country until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black. I want to ask a bigger picture question. I want to ask a ban on the racial identity of your opponent.
I don't, and I don't care.
Ban on the racial identity of your opponent.
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care. Whatever she wants to be, whatever she wants. I mean, all I can say is I read. And I'll say that, and I'll say that, and that's okay. Either way, and that's okay.
First, your thoughts on this.
A tragedy who has attempted to use race to divide the American people. Majority of it says no. Majority of it says kind of approach that is just let's remember. He was investigated. He was investing property to black family, who execution, boys took out a who states than that. As I do I travel our country. A friend we see in each other a leader who is other. I meet with people all the time. Can we please just have aspirations, regardless have the same dreams and 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 in hate and division, in hate and division, in hate and division, in hate and division.
Third time, third time, third time, third time, third time.
in the history, and they come up with going back many years. Well, a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with Central Park 5. They admitted Central Park 5. They admitted that well if they pled guilty, 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 and if they pled guilty, then 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 they that has to stretch back years. That has to stretch back years. Nothing now. I built nothing now. I built nothing now. I built nothing now. I built. I'm gonna build it again. 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 It's gonna for me. They have no idea for me. They have no idea for me. They have no idea. No policy. And remember this. No policy. And remember this. No policy. And remember this. From Biden. I don't know the gentleman. She's from Biden. I don't know the gentleman. From Biden. I don't know the gentleman. Inflation we've ever had. Inflation we've ever had. Inflation we've ever had. Inflation we've ever had. So bad. So bad. So bad. So bad. So bad. So bad. So bad.
Briefly. Briefly. Brief. And I am certain. 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 New generation of leadership for our country. One who new generation of leadership for our country. It's possible. It's possible. Instead of always disparaging, instead of always believe in what we can do. To believe in what we can do. Believe in what we can do. Which is why I have. Prepare the plans. Prepare the plan. 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 $50,000 tax. $50,000 ambitions. They're in ambitions. They're in ambitions. They're in ambitions. They're in $1,000. $1,000 to help you. 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 That is about hitting in terms of the American, 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 25,000, the kind of conversation I believe, David, post to a conversation that is calling. Let's turn the calling. Let's turn the page.
Let's turn back
We
to
have
policy.
to move on.
Let's turn back
We
to
have
policy.
to move on.
Let's turn back
We
to
have
policy.
to move.
Defund the police. 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 And
President Trump,
she
we
has
do
a-
have.
and
President Trump,
she
we
has
do
a-
have.
and
President Trump,
she
we
has
do
a-
have.
and
President Trump,
she
we
has
do
a-
have. Okay.
That's what her plan is.
Okay.
That's what her plan is.
Okay.
That's what her.
Okay.
That's what her plan.
President has said. President has said. President has said. President has said to what he has said. To what he has said. To what he has said. To what he has said.
President Trump, repeal and replace, repeal and replace, repeal and replace, repeal and repeal and publish that. You publish that. You publish that. Publish that. You publish that. Publish that. Last month we said, last first started run.
Lousy healthcare always was. It's not very good. Lousy healthcare. Lousy healthcare. That if we come up with something, and we are working. That if we come up with something. That if we come up with. Remember this. I inherited. Remember this. Remember this. I inherited. Change it. They wouldn't vote for it. Change it. They wouldn't vote for it. They were unanimous that we would have had a much. 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 It wouldn't vote for it. I had a choice to make when I was president. It wouldn't vote for it. I had a choice to make. As good as it can be, never going to be as good as it can be, never as good as it can be. And I felt I had an obligation. Let it go away. Let it go away. Let it go away. Let it go away. I have a lot of good people in this. Ones too, and so did 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 ones too, and so. I had a choice to make. I had a choice. Or do I let it rot? And I saved it. I did. Still never going to be great, and it's still never going to be great, and still never going to be great. Is we're looking at different plans. if we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our people, our populate, our people, our populate care, then I can be run.
So just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan.
Can be run.
So just a yes or no, you still do not.
I'm not president, right? I'm not president. I'm not president, right? Something. I would only change it if we come up with something that's something. I would only change it if there are concepts and options we have. There are concepts and options we got it in the not too distant future.
Vice President Harris, in 2017, year's proposal. Later, you proposed a plan. Later, you proposed a plan that included a private insurance option. What is your plan today?
Well, first of all, private healthcare options, but what we need to do is maintain and grow private healthcare options, but what we need to do is maintain and grow. I'll get to that, Lindsay. I'll get to that. I've made very clear my position. Hey, Tim Walz and I are he was lying about this stuff. As it relates to the affordable, he was lying about this stuff. Look at the history to know where people. Look at the history to know where. Look at the history. 3 times he tried. 3 times he tried to get. 3 times he tried to get rid of the senator. Hours. When great John as being caught. He was caught.